Hello and welcome to Mindset Matters with me, Ciara. Today I'm joined by the Government's Special Rapporteur on Racism and Racial Equality in Ireland, Dr. Ebun Joseph. Ebun is a champion for racial justice and equity and is renowned for her extensive work in race relations and Black studies. In this episode, we talk about what we can do as a society to work towards eradicating racism. Thank you so much for joining me on my podcast, Mindset Matters. Ebun, tell me about you and what you do.
So my name is Ebun Joseph. It means gift. So if you forget how to pronounce it, you can just say gift. So what do I do? God, I do a number of things, but my background is in guidance counseling. So I worked for 15 years with business in the community, UCD, the Royal College of Surgeons. I worked as a guidance counselor, so providing support for people who come to Ireland to find employment or regain their training or, those kind of things, give them career guidance. And then I worked with the Royal College of Surgeons, giving the same kind of advice, but to medical healthcare students. But in the last few years, I'm special rapporteur in Ireland on racial equality, racism and racial equality in Ireland. But I run a business as well. At the Institute of Anti-Racism and Black Studies. So I work with businesses, organizations, developing their race equality charter. I lecture Black Studies in UCD as well. So I think I'll stop on those ones.
Well, it's a good place to start now, actually. So give me your view on racism in Ireland.
I think that racism is gotten worse. Worse in that now you see it more on the street. It's people are not holding back anymore. People can just say anything, and unfortunately people are saying things and getting away with things. It's happening. It's more it's more on the street. People are feeling more unsafe. Again, schools were resuming in September, and there were a couple of there were people who were worrying that our young people are going back to school, because we'd had a spate of racist attacks on the streets, with the Indian community and a few other communities. And so with colleges resuming and all of that, people were worried about, the children, young people going back to school and all of those things that might happen. So yes, I think I've lived in Ireland now 23, 24 years. And for me, it's different. It's worse than when I first came to Ireland. Racism was not in your face, it's racism has always been in Ireland, so we can't say it has always been in Ireland. If you think back to the mixed race Irish children who were born here 50, 70, 80 years ago, their birth certificates, said defective. So their birth certificate did not recognize them as human. It recognized them as as defective. That's what was in their birth certificate. So racism has always been in Ireland. So we see that proof. You can talk to people, people within the mixed race community. So it's always been here, but it was not like when I came 24 years ago to Ireland, there was actually there was real effort to challenge racism. There was real effort for inclusion. There were funded projects. There were opportunities to interact. So there was more opportunities to interact. We were talking about welcoming. We were talking about recognition. Those are the kind of terms that we were using then, recognition and welcoming. Now we don't even hear such words anymore. It's all gone. Then, when people were asking you questions, there was a nice curiosity.
Yeah.
They wanted to really actually know, they wanted to learn, they wanted to hear where you were coming from, what you know. But now the curiosity, the question is more antagonistic. It's almost like when you're hearing where are you from, you're almost hearing like, how are you here? How did you come here? Are you an asylum seeker? Are you a sponger? So you can, you can hear all that in the undertone. The aggression is just, it's different. It's sad, but it's different.
Yeah. And do you know, is there a reason, or have you heard anything or seen anything that would indicate as to why it's gone so bad?
I think that, and I think that I also, maybe I've just also done the same thing that people do as well, is that when we start talking of racism, we focus on the individual.
Yeah.
He said, she said. But actually, you know what? That is, you know, we shouldn't have a hierarchy of racism. But if we had a hierarchy of racism, the individual would be at the lowest bottom. Is the least.
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
least, because you can avoid people who are racist. You can change organization, but the one that is most pejorative just is the institutional, the
Hmm.
systemic racism. And so that's where it comes from, because you see, racism operates on two things. One is power and the other one is policy. So,
Yeah.
like, I think we had an event last weekend with Gary Young, and he said something. He said, if we want to be racist, we will find a way to do it. If people want to be racist, they will find a way. They will find a justification. They will find a means. They will find something. So it's the same thing. When we want to perform racism, there are policies. We create policies. We create a whole
Yeah.
lot of conversation that makes it possible. So if you look at racism, if you look at the way it has progressed, and we're saying that it's progressively getting worse, if you look at the way it has progressed, you will see that our government has a lot to do with it. The government and
Yeah.
the media, those two spaces, because they are the ones that have the ears of the people. People are feeling unrest. They are feeling, oh, we don't, like when when we're having problems with housing, when we're having problems with healthcare, when we're having problems with, prices are going higher. Instead of the government to own up and say, you know what, things are getting hard everywhere, we're doing things wrong, or, they throw ethnic minorities under the bus. Like our minister mentioning, looking at housing and was saying that, immigration. I was like, no, we've always had a housing problem.
Yeah.
We've always had a housing problem. So for you to now tie it to immigration, and so then the ordinary person on the street takes that and runs
Yeah.
with it. So that's all. If you look at we're just doing a documentary now. We're doing a documentary trying to capture the 2004 referendum.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see that actually pre 2004, yes, there was racism, but like I said, it wasn't so intense. But
Yeah.
in that 2004 referendum, I was just going back to see the rhetoric that came out. The ministers were using words like bogus asylum seekers, bogus claims, so they put the words, they've put the
Yeah.
words in the ears of the people, influx. They use words like influx. I say, are they ants or termites? What are they? They will use the
Yeah.
word like influx, how many percent? Like
Hmm.
even now, when we talk about the number of, ethnic minorities in Ireland, how many percent? Do you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
know, Ireland is full, but we were 7 million 100 years ago.
Yeah.
100 years ago, we were 7 million. And 100 years later, we are just crossed 5 million. How
Hmm.
can it be full?
Yeah.
I mean, if you were earning 50,000 100 years ago, and then 100 years later, you're not earning 30,000, will you not say something is wrong?
Hmm.
But that's what it is.
Yeah.
From 7 million, we're down to 5 million, and we're crying that we're full.
Yeah.
But what we're actually saying is that we are selective, because as we are
Yes.
saying, we're still taking in some groups. So we're saying there are some groups we don't want. I can
Hmm.
understand where you say, yeah, it's just difficult. And then to see that Ireland, like in America, almost all the presidents have Irish blood.
Yeah.
Almost all the presidents have Irish blood. As at 10 years ago, over 75 million people all over the world claim Irish ancestry. 75 million. So Irish people are everywhere. In
Yeah.
Nigeria, my son's name is Patrick. Why is he Patrick? Because his dad was Patrick. And that's because we had Irish priests who came to Nigeria.
Yeah.
So as far back as 80 many years ago, the Irish were in Nigeria. you know. So I love what David Lamy said. David Lamy said, we are here because you were there. If you didn't
Yeah.
come there, we won't come there. So you were there. That's why we are here.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much to unpack there, to do with how we create borders, how we create communities, and also how we use language. Like you mentioned the words that government use there, um, the influx, the bogus asylum seekers. This stuff is so ingrained in people. I mean, do you think even if we start with our language and use that as perhaps another path of education, could that be achieved? Is that something to look at?
It will make a huge difference. Language is powerful. Do you
Yeah.
know? Language is like somebody say, sit here now. And I do that exercise when I'm doing anti-racism training. I say, you sit here now. You say, oh, I'm so tired. I can't move. I can't move. I can't move. And then I shout fire. I just shout fire. What's
And
going
they
to
jump.
happen?
Yeah.
You will get up. Energy will. Where did it come from?
Mhm.
And it was just only one word I said. Do you understand? Only
Yeah.
one word, but the word got in there. Do you understand? That's how powerful words are. That is
Yeah.
how powerful words are. They can
Mhm.
change everything.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying only one word: fire.
Mhm.
Nothing else,
Yeah.
just fire. I didn't
Yeah.
say there's a fire. I just said fire. The person would jump and start running before you say, where is the fire? They wouldn't even ask. They would just start running.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's how powerful words are. We have a new one that we are using now: unvetted males.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, so when a lad who looks like an ethnic minority is walking on the street, how do you know he's an unvetted male? If he's 6'3", black or brown, and he's walking on the street, how do you know if he doesn't open his mouth? The
Yeah.
Indian man that they point and they beat and they called him, how do they know whether he was vetted or not vetted? And he was actually somebody who was here legally working. How do you know? Because you've already caused the damage before you ask. You don't say, "Oh, do you have a passport?" Do you know? You don't ask, "I want to attack you. Please, do you have do you have an Irish citizenship? I want to be racist to you." Now,
Yeah.
they don't say that, at least give you say, "I just want to be racist to you now. Are you a citizen? Are you here legally? Are
Yeah.
you working? They don't ask all that. They just attack you." Do you know? And so we have that unvetted male. And where did it come from? Again, from the government. We send
Yeah.
out, we talk about all of those things. And when the rhetoric starts, the government doesn't do anything to end it, to stop it, to challenge it.
No. No. Any human being can see what is happening and say it's awful. So far, as you say, that they haven't said that they're going to do anything about it, or that they're willing
No.
even to do anything about it. Do you think it serves them in some way?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what the government has done is that the government has begun deportations again. Do you understand? So
Mhm.
they've begun deportations again. They said, increase. I said, but you opened the border and brought in more of a different and another community. Now you are then getting rid of people who've been here 8-7 years, who are willing to work. We say we don't have enough people to work. They are willing to work. People haven't been taken from their places of work to be deported. Yet
Mhm.
we are crying out that we don't have enough staff. Do you
Yeah.
understand? So, but we
Yeah.
are opening the door for some to come in while we are deporting some. So we are saying that we are selective. So yes, so we have all of those. So that's what the government is doing, increasing deportations. Then the government is talking about increasing police presence, guarded presence on the street.
Yeah.
Then the guard. Then another thing they did was to say, citizenships can be revoked. If you get into, so I say, so all of this, what does it say? It is actually saying, far right, you are correct. These people are terrible. They are criminals. Do you understand? So
Yeah.
they've actually stoked the fire. That's what they've done. Yes, the minister, it was when the Indian community were attacked, the minister came out and said, oh, they are contributing. I said, oh, so it's only one community who's contributing. I wish I can have a Black people free day from the healthcare. Just get all the Black doctors and nurses and healthcare workers and all the voluntary work that we do, unpaid voluntary work that we do to keep our society safe. Just say, you know what, all of you, let's take 24 hours off. Just
Yeah.
24 hours,
Yeah.
So it's things like that, so they don't help,
No.
They don't
No.
help. So they stalk it a bit more. We've
Yeah.
been talking about education, anti-racism education. By now, we should have it in schools. It should be
Yeah.
normal,
Yeah. That's it.
you know.
And you've recently been holding those online seminars, and we've been discussing how do we educate around racism and race equality. One of the themes that was central was, are we educating in the wrong way? And why was that one of the main points of conversation for you?
Because I was just worried that, like because in my role as special rapporteur, like when I was talking to the departments or when I'm talking to people, they say, oh, we've done anti-racism training.
Mhm.
Oh, so they all say they've done it. I'm saying,
Yeah.
okay, if you've done it and the racism is still increasing and your
Mhm.
department still looks 99.9% white,
Yeah.
then obviously I was trying to draw a conclusion. So I was actually asking the question. I said, so is it that what they're being told is not correct? Or are we just refusing to shift? Do you understand? Because
Yeah.
if you say you've done the training, it's like saying, oh, we've been training doctors, and then we say we don't have qualified doctors in Ireland. It's not possible. We might say we don't have enough qualified doctors, but we have because we've been training them every year. We graduate hundreds of doctors. So it's the same thing. They give me big numbers that all of these thousands of people have done the training. I said, then we still have racial profiling among the Gardaí. We still have, departments, who feel they have no responsibility for anti-racism. So we still have all of that. We still have people who are being fired from their place of work without any warning. I said, no. Even a child knows that you can't just let somebody go without giving them some form of warning, putting a plan in place. What have you done to help them to settle in the job? But we still have, and they told us that, we're older, that the younger generation is going to be better. But all of the young cases that are coming to me are actually young people, 22, 26. So that really upset me because there were 26-year-olds that were coming and talking about really horrible racisms that they're experiencing in the place of work.
Yeah.
Look, don't get me wrong. There have been some changes. There have been some positives that have happened because a lot of places have wanted to be more inclusive. So they've actually forced themselves to bring in ethnic minorities, particularly visible ethnic minorities. So we actually have more numbers in the place of work. But what is happening is that with the more numbers, there are more opportunities for clashes. Because you have brought them into a toxic environment. You have not worked with the people to show how to work with difference. People ask me, how do I relate with a Black person? I'm like, I don't wonder how to relate with a white. I've never thought about it. It has never occurred to me to say, how do I relate with a white person? How are they different from me? You eat food, you drink tea, you drink coffee, the weather, the rain falls, it makes you wet as it will make you understand. You walk, you enter a car like me. So what do I need? You go to Tesco, you spend euro, the same as I spend. You don't spend blood. I don't spend blood. We spend euros. So why should I wonder? So that question on its own first just already tells me that something is happening within you. Like, what do you mean? How do I relate with you? Or how do I relate with the Black person? Just the same way you relate with the white person who came in.
Yeah.
They're all the same.
A human being. Yeah.
Like, go first. And I don't know. Just some questions that I just saw.
Yeah, that actually has astounded me. And when you look at the history and when you think how far we've come, although it doesn't feel like we've come that far anymore, where skin color, accent is still dictating somebody's place in society.
Yeah.
It shouldn't, but it still is.
Yeah. I mean, I've just been working on, I did a documentary in 2023 on equity in the workplace, and that was in response to the International Women's Day theme, which was talking about equity. I was like, oh, equity, what is that? That's a foreign culture for me. I don't have it, And so we did a documentary where I asked women who were doing well, who had citizenship, who had good jobs, so you won't say they didn't have work. So I interviewed highly placed women, Black Irish women in Ireland, to ask them, do you have equity? Not one of them felt they had equity in Ireland. So I've done a two-part series now. We look at the labor market. I did this year. We published one on academia. I mean, like I was talking to someone in the whole of Maynooth University. We only have one ethnic minority professor. She was only made professor just this month. There were two. One of them has retired.
Yeah.
So there's only one in the whole of a university, one ethnic minority. In the whole of UCD, there's only one Black female professor. In the whole of UCD, 34,000 students, I think, is the population of that school.
Wow.
Only one Black. And even the one was recruited, I think, 2024. I'm like how? You go to our technological universities, all of them, you look at almost like 2/3, or like 1/3 of the class or half of the class, you will see like almost loads of black students in the class.
Yeah.
Go to the staff room. There's not a single black staff in the room. And all of us have PhDs. My PhD was 2015 in Ireland. So I'm not saying it was just today. It was done in 2015.
Yeah.
I have published books. I have articles. I have books published that are recognized internationally. So why? Do you
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
So it is sad. It is
Mm.
sad, you know, and that we're not preparing for the future. I just think we can do more.
Yeah.
We can do more.
Yeah.
Particularly when I challenge academia, I still tell my white colleagues, I say, none of you all say, oh, this is bad, but what have you done about it? When they ask you to go and teach that module, have you said, I won't teach it? You need to get ethnic minority person to come and teach
Yeah.
it. So even the things that we should be the ones teaching, that, that we should be the natural teachers of those, we still don't get it. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And when we talk about inclusion, we talk about making space, not taking space. So
Yeah.
but people are making the space, but they are occupying the spaces they are making. So they're actually making the space. I say, so how can you be the one benefiting from the racism that your community performs?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was why we were
Yeah.
looking at it. So we were looking at, okay, that was what triggered the question. Like, okay, if everybody has done this training, they've done bias training, they've done this training, they've done blah, 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 then is it that the training is not good? Is it not complete? Is it what is missing? So that was why we went in that direction, to see, what more
Yeah.
did we need, And one of the things people were talking about was that a lot of the training talks about the individual, bias. Yes, bias training is fantastic. But
Mhm.
if you don't focus on the institutional, the systemic, that
Yeah.
racism is not just I said, she said, but that there's a system of operation.
Yeah.
So racism is not what you did, it's a system that permits that thing to happen.
Yeah.
So when I teach, when I train about racism, I say that when you look at what happened, don't just be looking at what he did or what she did. You have to ask yourself, what system here permits this thing to happen? That's the
Yeah.
question to ask. I challenge belonging. Because people talk about belonging. I say belonging is not it doesn't have an action item. What do you have to do for me to belong? Nothing. If I want to belong, then I have to belong. I have to do something. I either have to assimilate, cut off bits of myself to,
Yeah.
to belong. But I say what we should be teaching is acceptance,
Yes.
because you have to accept me in the space, in the place of work.
Mhm.
Ireland has to accept us. What Ireland is not doing is accepting us. It has
Accepting.
selective acceptance. So acceptance has an action item. Belonging doesn't have. Belonging is a result. If you accept
Yeah.
people, they will belong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes those are key things, and those are core things that are missing in some of the work that we're doing. I'm not saying the work we're doing is not okay, but if it's not producing the result, we need to go. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
Eh, I mean, anti-racism is beyond a Google search.
Yeah.
Now, anti-racism is more like people just do. I say anti-racism training is not diversity and inclusion. Anti-racism training is specific. You have to go to the root. Where did racism come from? It is
Yeah.
the superiority of one group over. Is that belief? Is that mindset we need to challenge? So
Yes.
you have to understand the culture that we are being racist against. You have to understand that actually what we know about this group is wrong.
Yeah.
Is half of the story. So when you don't know, if I don't know something, the purpose of a thing, then I can believe anything about it that I want. So
Yeah.
yeah, so sometimes all of those, that is the incompleteness of the teachings that I think is what I was trying to challenge.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. And it goes back then as well to the power of language. The point you made there about making space, taking space. If you're
Yeah,
making space for somebody, you're taking their power away
yeah, yeah,
instantly,
yeah,
Whereas say to somebody, come in and take up your space, that gives
yeah.
them,
It gives them,
that,
you know.
yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can I mean, yeah, I mean, and like in Ireland now, like in the last 2 years now, we've particularly tried to do well for the traveler community, you
Hmm.
know. And let me not even say we've done well, because we're just starting. We've not, because we can still see quite a lot of that is not
Yeah.
being done.
Yeah.
There's still racial profiling and all of that, but because of the niches, the government, the whole of government approach, to do that, um there's more consciousness, particularly around education. So there's more consciousness, more support. But there's still a major problem with housing for the traveler community. There's still
Yeah.
a major problem with policing.
Yeah.
There's still a major problem when they go, society's attitude. There's still a major problem. So all of those things are still there.
And what do you think the government needs to do to get to a place where we can start to make that change?
Hmm. I think the government has to lead by example.
Yeah.
you know they have to lead by example. For example, if you look at the all of government department, there is not a single one of them that has up to what 2% of ethnic minorities within them. And we're saying 2%.
Yeah.
you know but in Ireland, the population of ethnic minorities in Ireland in the labor force is about 15%. We don't have up to 2%. So first and foremost, that is, if you go to the UK, ethnic minorities are in every cadre, every level.
Yeah.
If you even go to France, even when we think that there's so much racism in France, if you go to France, ethnic minorities are in every level. You see, so we
Mm.
see that. So first and foremost, they are not there. They are not in the spaces.
Yeah.
So their issues don't even come up at all. So we have to start by leading by example, and don't not just bringing people in to come and do internships and
Mm.
volunteering to come and be on boards. They keep calling me to come and be on board. I say, I'm not coming anymore. You just pick my brain. Who's going to pay for the brain you're picking?
Yeah.
Because to be on the board, what am I going to get? What am I getting? How does that, when I go to Tesco, will I say, oh, I'm on the board, can I take a loaf of bread and walk out? No, I still have to pay for that bread.
Yeah.
So if you're not giving me a job, giving me something that is paying me, but I should be happy that you're asking me to come. I don't, I say, I've done enough.
Hmm.
So now when they come, I recommend, I say, there are other people who do, I'm on like, how many boards? I say, if you want this brain that I have, if you want it, you pay for it now.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
understand? So because they just get to come and be on this board, come and be on this committee, come and be on that. We are supposed to be happy because we want diversity. At what cost?
Yeah. At what
At
cost?
what cost?
That's
So
it.
most of the time we're spending emotional labor. We're
Yeah.
using emotional labor. So if you actually put a staff in there, you won't need to come and get us on boards, because they will notice it. They will notice the mistakes and say, oh, that thing is going to be flagged. That's we can see it already. But also that we bring in uh, a perspective that you can't see.
Yeah.
And so it makes the workforce stronger and better, more,
Yeah.
stronger and better. Sometimes when I'm doing training, I give examples of places I've worked. When I got in, places that have been operating for 50, 80 years. And I come in and I immediately notice a gap, and I set up a new structure in some areas that they were not doing before. Because I come in with new lenses. I come in, I can see something else, and I bring that in. And it becomes a core part of the work. You know, people think that when we're talking about diversity, we are saying you're watered. You are not watering down. There are people who are fully qualified, well
Yeah.
capable to doing the work there. So yes, the
That's
government
it.
has to start by example. Make sure that in the recruitment they put people not just at the bottom level of internship and voluntary work, middle management, because that's where they can begin to make changes.
Hmm.
So that when sometimes I go for government meetings, strategic planning, I'm like, wow, the whole room is white. There may be a dot of just two. You won't even see a traveler in the room, unless maybe it's something that has to do with traveler community. But if not,
Yeah.
they are
No.
not in the room. You won't see the Roma, you won't see the black. You just see maybe two stray people just there, but the whole room white Irish population. I say, but how is this a strategic plan for the whole of Ireland? You are missing out
Mm.
a huge population.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that we have to start there. We have to use education. We have to make anti-racism training compulsory in schools, primary
Yes.
schools, secondary school. I mean, people think that, oh, primary school is too young. I say, but look at it. The attack on the Indian community the last few
Yeah.
weeks, were all by teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
Teenagers.
Yeah.
And a 6-year-old girl was actually attacked in one of the attacks.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, if a 6-year-old is not too young to be attacked by racist attacks, then a 6-year-old is not too young to learn about anti-racism.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
We're not too young. We know how to do it. When we wanted to do, what did we do? The what do you call it now? Safety, safety for
Mm-hmm.
women and consent. We wanted
Yeah.
to do consent. We used education. So we know how to do it. We know that education is key, but we are
Mm-hmm.
balking. Why? We don't really want that change. We don't really,
Yeah.
because that is to get long-term change, you must appeal to education.
Yeah.
Because that is the only system that all of us go through. You
Yeah.
cannot wait until the person is a line manager, then he does 1 hour of unconscious bias training. I say, even the name, I don't call it unconscious bias. It is bias training.
Bias training. Yeah.
It's not At what point does it stop being unconscious? You've been doing unconscious bias training for 5 years. At what point does it stop being unconscious?
Yeah.
I'm always
Yeah.
smacking them. I'm like, no, you've been doing unconscious since 5 years' time. Please, can we just conscious it now?
Yeah. Exactly. Conscious it. Yeah. Yeah. So what can I do, and what can, for people listening, to do better and to be better? If we say that change starts with us, with one person, what can I do from now to make it better or to be better?
I think that I always talk about your circle of influence.
Yeah.
So start with your circle of influence. We all have a circle of, you see, that manager in the office, he's
Mhm.
somebody else's circle of influence in the home. So if we all started with our circle of influence, the people on your dining table, the people in your home, the people in your team, the people in your
Yeah.
department, the people in your classroom, if we actually start with them and just don't try and change the world, because
Mhm.
when we think about the whole world is I don't push for the whole world. You
Yeah.
see, sometimes I just do what I can, have a conversation online, and I just believe that it will spread. And people take
Yes.
it and they go that I just say, I'll contribute my quota to changing the world, but these are the people I can reach, and then they can reach somebody else. So start with your circle of influence, everybody. The people on the table, when that racist joke is shared, challenge it. Say,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't think you thought that way. I call them racism stoppers.
Yeah.
Challenge it. Not say, oh, you are racist. No, don't call people names. Just
No.
say, oh, I didn't think you thought that way. And they will
Yeah.
say, oh, I didn't mean it will stop. But when
Yeah.
you laugh about it, it will continue.
It continues.
In
Yeah.
your department, when you see somebody being ignored all the time, you know, like being passed over all the time, have a conversation. Bring that person into the conversation.
Yeah.
Make sure when you're HR manager, you see that somebody's been there 5 years, people who have come 2 years have been promoted. You have to find out, why is this person still on this level? Just do your circle. If we
Yeah.
all did our circle, as a teacher, think about it. All your examples are white Irish. And the only time you use minority is the boy who punched the girl in the class will be a black or traveler person or an ethnic minority. So,
Yeah.
the person who can't read, the person who is afraid hiding in the cupboard will always be ethnic. So swap it around. When I used to teach in the Royal College of Surgeons, I used to make the doctor with a hijab. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not. I'm a staunch Christian, But I just, I would put the person who is a doctor with
Yeah.
a woman. I'll put a woman with a hijab as the doctor. I'll put a black man as the physiotherapist.
Yeah.
I'll put a white person as the doctor and a black person as the patient, So I will swap it around so that every time you come into class, you will see difference. So
Mhm.
without me having to teach you difference, my images were teaching you difference. So
Yeah.
there's something each and every one of us can do. I say, even to young people, maybe your dad, I was saying to some young people, I say, maybe your dad, has been able to get you an internship, but your colleague has been struggling. They can't even get an internship in McDonald's. They can't even
Yeah.
get even that. Talk to your dad. Say, Dad, you got me one. I have this colleague in school. She can't get one. Can you help?
Yeah.
That's how we do it. That's allyship. That's what solidarity and allyship is.
Yeah.
Just roll up your sleeve and help wherever you can. If you see my community, a lot of us do a lot of voluntary work. Why?
Mhm.
Because when we notice a gap, we fill it in.
Yeah.
We don't wait for some. We just do it. We just do it. Yeah, that I think that's somewhere to start, and then those in power can begin to challenge the systemic, because what he's doing, it creates a generational
Yeah.
has a generational impact. It
Yeah.
has a generational impact. So imagine that 6-year-old who experienced racism as young as the age of 6. Imagine what that will do to her.
Yeah.
Does she feel safe now going into spaces? You think we can just dust off ourselves like a dog and go? No. It causes mental health issues. People
Yeah.
begin to second guess themselves,
Mm-hmm.
you know. In
Yeah.
one of the books I write about, how Black women go from office pets to office threats. I don't know if you've heard that, they
No.
come in their office pet, they're like, oh my God, we have a Black person here now,
Yeah.
and everybody loves you. And then within 6 weeks, 6 months, you know, you start feeling like you've grown horns because there's antagonism, there's attacks and all of that. And that's because you've come in, you're not the dependent person. You don't need them to teach you English. You don't. So suddenly you're like,
Yeah.
she's too, because they want you to be coward, and, so we go from office pets to office threats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's sometimes that's the price you pay, and it has its own huge impact on people. So we can all do something.
Yeah.
Even just something as basic as, even when you're in the office and you go to the coffee place, don't just say hello to just the Irish people there.
Yeah.
Say hello, hi, how was your weekend? Say something,
Say
you
it to
know, just
everybody.
something,
Yeah.
that make people feel welcome, make people feel
Yes.
part of a system.
Yeah.
There have been so many times people, organizations say, oh, they're organizing a team, go away. You get there and find out that every other person is staying in the same hotel. You are the only one that did not get the MO that this is the hotel where they are staying. This happens all the time. You get there and you are the only one having to trek from a long. In fact, all of the other ones, the company paid for their hotel space. You didn't get the MO. You paid for your own, and you're in a different space from everybody. In fact, they are all in one brother's house. And
God.
this I'm not telling you here, I'm telling you these are things that have been
No.
reported to me, like with evidence. And then they come and they say, I'm never going for a company meeting again. So you now think that, oh, these people are antisocial. No, their experiences
They're
they
being
just get
excluded.
exhausted.
Yeah.
You just like, you know what, I'm not trying anymore.
Yeah.
You just say, I'm
Yeah.
not trying anymore. Sometimes I go for meetings where I'm the only Black person there. I stand, I say, let me see. I'm a bit fortunate because a lot of people might recognize me. Maybe one or two people might come, oh, I know you. I've listened to you online, and so I'm fortunate a little bit on that. But even sometimes I still feel like a duck out of water,
Yeah.
particularly when I don't know anybody. The whole room is so white. And I'm
Mm.
just saying, let me even see if anybody will even take pity on me and say, hi, how are you? Come, let me introduce you to people. Nothing, nothing, nothing. I said, so even that, if you came into a meeting of Black people, I tell you, they will oppress you with love.
Yeah.
They will try and introduce, oh, don't eat this one, this is spicy. They will try and make you feel comfortable because they know you probably don't know anybody there.
Yeah.
But nobody tries. You're ignored. It's like you just feel like I shouldn't be here. And that's why we don't come. People don't come. Not
Yeah.
because they don't want to. So
No.
the lack of acceptance is a major problem. Maybe just to recognize those who are actually making efforts.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about a lot of people who are not doing a lot now, but I know
Yeah.
there are pockets of people who are making efforts.
Yeah.
There are some companies, organizations that are making effort.
Mm-hmm.
So again, to acknowledge all of those, but don't stop.
Don't stop.
Challenge your colleagues. Challenge, I can't remember his name now, but there was a manager, and it was a CEO, and I was so happy that it was one that challenged another CEO who said something that was extremely racist. I saw that it was on LinkedIn, and I commented and really thanked him because if I was coming from outside to challenge the CEO, there'd be nothing. So I was so happy there was a CEO to another CEO who challenged him for saying that was not, good. So that kind of thing. So if you're a company, an organization who is doing well, you know, have a long time meeting with other CEOs and just, share the good practice. How have you been
Yeah.
able to do that? What are the challenges you found, and, what are the benefits? So share those benefits. I think that those will really, really help.
That's it for this week. Hopefully this episode can make a small or a big difference, and that it will help us take a look at ourselves and ask what more we can do. Next week, we're delving into a very specific area to do with our health. I'll be talking all things pelvic health with physiotherapist Aoife Harvey from Women's Health Dublin about all of the things we can do to stay on top of our health down below.